Hello, it's week 68 and we're continuing our brand new discussion that we started last week on Kuen Kuit, or the sayings of Wing Chun. The second saying we're going to look at this time is the one that is pronounced in Cantonese, Lik Chong Dei Hei. Translation literally, power comes from the ground upwards. So in Wing Chun thinking and in the structures and so forth that we apply, the concept is that we try to draw our strength from the ground, because the body itself may not be strong enough to generate the kind of power that we need. A lot of people, when they fight, they do it all with their upper body, their shoulders, and their twisting of their hips, but they don't really connect well with the floor, and therefore they're relying only and entirely on body strength. Body strength alone might not be enough to defeat an opponent. But if we can tap into the ground, which is an unending source of energy, we can add a lot more energy to whatever we do. The process of understanding this concept begins with the Iji Kimyongma. If I'm in the stance correctly, I'm gripping down into the floor, so it's supporting anything that might come inwards. I can send that energy down into the ground, and when I'm projecting my own attacks forward, I'm using the same line of energy from the ground. The basic punch utilizes that snapping of the elbow and the wrist, which then creates an angle which reflects back into the floor. So that's a demonstration there straight away of the ground. If I invite Wei Cheng to come in and help me demonstrate, I'm going to use him as a target, but not to injure him. If I'm standing in front of him and I just push with my shoulder, it will move him a little bit. But if instead I just drop the elbow a little bit and utilize the wrist, it's a much easier action for me. I don't have to stress my shoulder, but you can see the effect on his body is more intense. Now, same if he puts his hands up in front of his chest to protect his chest. If I stand here and do a punch, that's my arm, it's not having a great effect. But if I sit down in the stance, and I'm exaggerating it by using the fighting position, the energy is going to come from the floor, so there's much more energy available to me. If he puts that up as a resistance against my punch, if I'm punching with my shoulders only, he can hold me there for quite a while. I'm struggling to move him. But if I just sit down a little bit more and drop my elbow, it's not an effort at all to push him away, because I'm utilizing an angle from the floor. The basic kicking action does the same thing. The way we kick is to come from the floor straight to the target. It's not a 1-2, which will go back through my own hips, but a one action. So again, the floor is supporting my technique. So simple concept like fuksao. If he's trying to push in and I use my arm, he can push me out. If I use the ground, now it's pushing him out. I haven't used my arm except to hold the shape, but the ground is supporting my technique. So a lot of people don't get their most amount of power in their technique simply because they don't use the ground enough. So if you can start training yourself to drop the hips in, lower your center of gravity, and always keep your elbows lower, you'll always have access to the ground power. That's what we mean by Lik Chong Dei Hei. Power comes from the ground upwards. See you next week.